The room was silent. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that clings to the air like smoke before fire. Just after dawn, January 24th, 1989, the Florida State Prison buzzed with invisible tension. Behind thick glass, reporters and victims' families waited, breathing shallow. Ted Bundy entered with a priest. Calm, too calm. He sat in the electric chair, arms strapped, chest bare. A final breath, a final stare. And just hours earlier, a final confession. Not in court, not to the public, but whispered to FBI agents in a last, twisted game of control. Would you want to know a killer's final truth, if you couldn't unhear it? He smiled like a politician, joked like a friend, and walked like he had nothing to hide. But beneath the charm, Ted Bundy was wrought. Born in 1946, raised under lies about who his real parents were, he learned early how to pretend. In the daytime, he studied law and volunteered at suicide hotlines. At night, he hunted. The air around Bundy was always warm, welcoming. But like an open grave, it pulled you closer before you realized what you were standing over. He was attractive, articulate, and invisible in plain sight. And maybe that was the most terrifying thing of all. What scares you more, the monster in the dark or the one who looks just like us? Ted Bundy didn't just kill, he lured. He turned vulnerability into bait. He'd wear a sling or pretend to limp, asking young women for help loading books or a sailboat into his car. He spoke with confidence, flirted even. He was the kind of man your parents would trust. And that was the trap. Once inside his car, the tone changed. The door would slam shut, the mask would fall, and what followed was calculated, sadistic violence, carried out in remote woods where no one could hear them scream. But Bundy wasn't just cunning, he was evolving. When investigators closed in, he fled. His first escape came in 1977. While in jail in Aspen, Colorado, he pretended to prepare for trial, then jumped from a second-story window during a court recess. He vanished into the mountains for days. He was caught, but not for long. His second escape was even bolder. That same year, after dropping nearly 30 pounds, Bundy slipped through a hole he'd carved in the ceiling of his jail cell. He climbed into the warden's apartment, changed clothes, and walked out the front door. No one noticed. He headed straight to Florida. And there, he changed. The murders became more erratic, more brutal. He broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University and attacked 4 women in one night, beating them with a log, biting, strangling, leaving behind a trail of blood and horror. He no longer cared about control or being careful. The charm had worn off. The mask was gone. What was left was something feral. If someone like Bundy could walk among us unnoticed, how many more like him might still be out there? By 1978, Ted Bundy was finally caught. Again. This time, there would be no escape. He was found driving a stolen vehicle in Florida, with IDs, stolen credit cards, and hair samples that would later link him to the Chi Omega attacks. But prison didn't stop him from putting on one final performance. Bundy didn't hire a lawyer. He became his own. He objected, cross-examined witnesses, even flirted with women in the courtroom. Smiling, always smiling. The trial quickly became a media spectacle, the first nationally televised court case in U.S. history. Women lined up to watch him speak. Some believed in his innocence. Others just wanted to be near him. It was surreal. He wasn't being tried as a murderer. He was performing. But behind the courtroom charm, Bundy couldn't help himself. He slipped up, showed flashes of arrogance, smirked at details of the murders, crossed the line between clever and cruel. Then came the moment that stunned everyone. During the penalty phase, in front of a stunned courtroom, Bundy proposed marriage to a former co-worker, Carol Ann Boone, right there, in the middle of his own trial. She said yes, while on trial for murder. It was madness. And yet, he still managed to create doubt in the minds of some jurors. Not because the evidence wasn't there, but because people wanted to believe he wasn't capable of what he'd done. His greatest weapon was never a knife or a rope. It was his face. How easily could you be manipulated by someone who knows exactly what you want to see? Ted Bundy spent nearly a decade on death row, and as the date of his execution drew closer, the bravado faded. He stopped smiling. Desperate to delay the inevitable, Bundy began offering pieces of the truth, small, controlled, like breadcrumbs tossed to starving birds. He spoke with FBI profilers, investigators, and psychologists. Each session was a twisted negotiation, time for truth, but only on his terms. He finally admitted to killing over 30 women, but hinted there were more. Dozens, maybe. When asked for details, he danced around them. Some names he refused to give, some locations he kept secret. "I don't want to give the families false hope," he said. But many believe it was control. Even in death, he wanted to be the one pulling strings. In his final interview, Bundy shifted the blame. He pointed to pornography, to violence in the media, to everything but himself. But his eyes told a different story. Cold, detached, watching. Like a man who still didn't believe the rules ever applied to him. January 24th, 1989. He walked calmly into the execution chamber at Florida State Prison. No tears, no apologies. His last words, "Give my love to my family and friends." The switch was flipped, and just like that, silence. Outside the prison, a crowd of hundreds cheered as smoke rose from the roof. Some held signs, some wore t-shirts, some danced. Because for the first time, Ted Bundy couldn't escape. But the fear remains. He looked like one of us. He smiled like one of us. And no one saw the monster until it was far too late. Was Bundy truly a one-of-a-kind killer, or just the one who got caught?